Hi guys, and here's another tutorial on how to use BaseCamp, and this time I'm actually going to use BaseCamp and Microsoft Excel to show you how we can change a GPX file that is missing some data. So before we do this, I'm going to download the file, which I've done already, and import it in here. But maybe you have a file where you stop your watch to do whatever it was on the trail, and then you forgot to start it again, and you're missing a whole section of data that you would like to have in your run or in your ride or whatever it is that you're using. In this case, this is a run that I did this weekend, and you can see right here there's a whole section where I'm missing data, and that's because I stopped to take a video and then I forgot to start my watch again. You can see right here there's a gap, there's a difference, and I would like to reconstruct this. Now, is this important for me? Not really, but this is a good way to actually have a tutorial on how to do this. Now, fair warning, I'm using a Mac, so if you're a PC user, this may be completely different. And also, this is a pretty advanced thing, so you need to make sure that you're familiar enough with Excel that when I start using some pretty complex formulas, that you know how to do it. So this is not your beginner's tutorial, this is definitely advanced plus. And so let's get started. So I have downloaded the file and I put it right here in our BaseCamp, and it's in just a new list right here. So trail running number 2. What I'm going to do actually, because just to make it easier and simpler, I'm just going to cut this right here and then delete the end of that run, just so we have this little section right here that we can focus on. And you can see that it's missing the data. Not only that, but you can see the trail right here exists in the background. We can double click right here and you'll see all the different points that we have on our file, okay? And as you can see, we have a timestamp, we have the how long the leg was between each of the points, and then how long it was between each of the points. Now my watch is set up to record every 1 second. Every second it's going to do a new GPS point. The speed in between, elevation, and then our position, which is important, and then temperature and cadence, not so important right here, but we're going to try to reconstruct basically the data that we're missing in between. So I want to show you where the point right here, and the reason I know is because the lag time is 8 minutes, so I'm missing 8 minutes of running in this file in particular, and that's about 0.7 miles straight distance, which I think was actually a little bit more than that because it wasn't a straight distance between the two. So how are we going to do this? Well, we've got two options. I'm going to close this right here just so you can see what was in here. We get two options. We can recreate this by hand and hope that we get pretty close to what the reality was, or if we have another file from a different run, or maybe from a different ride of that area, then we can also use that data. I'm lucky enough because I actually have been in that area before, so actually I have a track of that area. So I'm actually going to be using that because it's going to be easier to reconstruct all the data. Going to do a right click, duplicate, and then put it in right here, and then I'm going to delete this. In our new list right here, we have our old trail and we have our new trail. So the original one is the one that's going to the side right here, so I'm going to do a right click, see where it stops, left click right here, so I'm going to go right here, I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to do split track at point. Okay, so now this first section we can delete, so I'm going to do command delete, and then now we have the second section right here. Let's see how far we need to do this. I'm going to zoom out real quick and get to the end of it. Now you notice it doesn't follow exactly what was on that map, which is why I prefer to use an actual track. And then we're going to get to the end of it, so I'm going to select the old one and then the new one there, and then right click, split track at point. Okay, So, and then everything afterwards, this, which is perfect, we're going to delete. So now what you notice is that I have the original track. I'm going to zoom out again. The original track, and then we have the Willow Trail, which is the reconstructed that we're going to match in between here. I should add that if you don't have this track right here, you can draw it by hand using this icon right up here, draw a track, and I'll show you on the side what it does. All you have to do is just click and then freehand just draw your trail in here. When you're done, see what it does, and then you do escape to finish. It creates a track right here. Now, as I said, we're not going to do that, but just so you know, in case you need to do it, that's how you do it. So now I'm going to split my track right here where it ends, split track at point, and then I'm going to go and find the other section of the track right here. I'm actually going to double click on it just to show you a different way of doing things, and I'm going to go all the way to the top and delete that very first point. Delete, delete, there you go. You notice that whole line is gone now. Now we have this. So just to make it simpler, I'm going to rename this track 1. I'm going to rename the second one track 2, and then this one track 3, just so we have them in order. Okay, track 1, 2, and 3. Now I want to show you something else. If I double click right here, you'll see that the date is 8/20. That's when I did this run. Okay, and then track 2, there's no date. There's not a whole lot of data in here. All there is just the points. Okay, so that's going to be an issue when we put everything together. And then track 3, again, we have a date. All right, so I want to write down a few things real quick, just so we have reference points. Our first file, and then this is going to be very helpful for the future, and that's why I want to kind of show you right now and take these notes. So we had 240 points on the first track, and then it ended at 8/20/17 at 6:41 a.m. You'll see why it's important in the future. And then track 3 started at 8/20/17 at 6:55 a.m. Okay, so we have to reconstruct between this point here and this point here on 8/20. Okay, so we're going to select all 3 of our tracks, and we make sure that they're going in the right direction, every single one of them. And we're going to do right click, joint tracks. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Join tracks right here, and we're going to delete. Well, we're going to keep them. So this is our final track right here. Let's double click on this, and then now let's take a look. We had 200 and some points for the first one, and now you notice that it looks actually a little funky in here, and then there's a big wide gap, and then the end of it right here. Now, I'm not quite sure what that's about. Usually we should be able to see the stuff. Maybe it's just a glitch because I'm recording the screen, but you can see all these points in between here. Oh, there you go. Okay, just took a little bit of time. So there's no time, and there's no leg distance. There's no data in between here. Now we cannot make changes to these points in here using BaseCamp. So we're going to do this in Excel. Excel is going to help us open this file and then work with it and then go from there. So I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so now that we've finalized our file, all we need to do is export it. So export selected user data, and we're going to export it into this download folder tutorial right here. So we're gonna export this file right here, final.gpx, and I'm going to do export, and it is in our folder. Now from here, you may be happy with this. You may be happy with just having this file going in here. But with that being said, if you want to upload this file into Strava, for example, Strava is going to kick it back because there is no time and date information in between that section that we kind of cut and pasted in there. So what I'm going to show you is I'm actually going to show you how to modify this file and add the timestamps where we need it to be in Excel. And so that's a section that you can skip if you're happy with the file the way it is. Then you don't have to worry about it. But if not, then I'm going to show you how to do it right here. So now before we can open this file in Excel, unfortunately Excel doesn't read GPX file by itself, so we're going to have to go and modify the extension so we can open it with Excel. And one way to do this is to change the extension to CSV, a comma separated value. So we're going to press enter on the Mac and then just do, or F2 on the PC, just rename this to CSV. Okay, it's going to say, do you want to do this? Yes, we do. And then we're going to drag this file and put it into Excel right here. Now, when you open that up, Excel is going to load it up. It's going to look like this. And it might be difficult at first to figure this out, but it's really all not that complicated. You can see right here the way the file is designed. You've got a track right here, and then the name of the track, and then there's a bunch of data underneath it. Okay, now you notice a pattern. Okay, we have here track point, and it starts our first track point all the way to the / track point which ends it. This is our first point. This used to be a column when we looked at it on Garmin BaseCamp. And here we have the elevation in meters. We have the time. Now you notice it's Zulu time, Z time. I'm going to zoom in because you guys better read that. Latitude, longitude, elevation, time. And then there's a little bit more information in here, such as our temperature, our cadence, and then another temperature in here. So anyway, I'm not going to worry too much about this. I want to go back and I want to go down to where we don't have the data anymore in our file. And so you can see the pattern here as I'm scrolling down. It's pretty, oh, there you go. See, we just passed it. There's all the data. Okay. This is all the data that we have that we need to modify and add a timestamp. What we need to do is we need to create a new line in between every single one of these files right here. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now again, I want you to remember this is more for an advanced user than anything else. Okay. What I want to do is we're going to create, actually we're going to use this column right here. And all we're going to do is we need to create a gap between this section here, a gap between each line. So what you can do is you can do a right click, insert, and then go down, do right click, insert. That's going to take you forever. So one of the tricks that I learned over the years is to do this a little bit differently. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use a number right here. And I'll show you how this works. We're going to do 1 and 2, and then we're going to drag this down. And then you notice what happens in the bottom right corner of that cell. Then it starts to count, and we're going to drag it back to the okay, right here. So 308 lines. Now you'll notice one thing on actually 307, because this is the next line right here. You'll notice in the format we have track point right here with latitude and longitude, and then we have elevation time. We said that before. And at the end of it, to end the string, we need / track point. You notice on all of these here we have already a / that ends. You notice that there is no / track point. So what this means is we're going to need to create 2 lines in between each of these, and I'll just show you an example. And then in here we're going to insert a timestamp, and we're also going to insert this. So at the end of it, this is what each of these cells is going to look like. So we need 2 gaps in between all of these. Okay, I'm going to go back. So the way we'll do this is we're going to copy this, and there's 309 lines, right? 307, I'm sorry. 307, okay? And so we're going to go right here, and we're going to go 307 times 2 is the number of line that we need to create total. So that's 614. So we're going to go down and see right by my cursor right here, it says 43, 45. It keeps adding up. 614. We're going to keep going down until it says 614. That's the number of lines that we're going to create. 614. Okay, 614 right here. Okay? And right click, insert. So now we've created 314 lines right here. Now I'm going to select these 307 things right here. Okay. Command C for copy, and I'm going to right here. Command V. All right. And we're going to do that again. Go down right here and Command V again. So let's make sure that we have 307. See, perfect. Perfect. So now we're going to select this one. Going to go up all the way to the top right here. And I'm going to select all of these lines, which is going to be 307 times 3. Okay, 921. And now the trick is to go to data, sort, and we're going to sort it by column B, which is this column right here, from the smallest to the largest. Click OK. Look what happens. Now we have created a gap between each of these by sorting all of this. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So now we don't need this anymore. I'm just going to do clear content, get rid of it. One thing we're going to do before we forget is we're going to go right here and we're going to remove that /. Okay, so I'm going to select this again, go all the way to the top, scrolling, and maybe I should make this a little bit smaller, zooming. There you go. So it's easier to see. There you go. And I'm going to do Control H, which is replace on Windows and Mac. Find, and then here we need to find the string, which was this, and this. Okay. In all of this, that's what's going to identify our string, and we're going to replace it by simply this and this. We notice we remove the /. Replace all. See what happens. I'm going to zoom in again. Oh, see that / is gone, which is good. That's what we wanted. Okay, so now we have 307 points, and like we said before, the time, this is 13:47:41 Zulu. Now the one thing that we want in this line right here is going to be a timestamp. So one way we can do it is we can do this, paste it right here, and then change this to 42, paste this, put it right here, change this to 43, and so on and so forth, and do this 309 times. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not something that I want to do. So you can see right here the format is pretty simple. We have 2017:08, the month, the day, the time, and then our time in Zulu time, which is standard time. Okay, so I'm going to recreate this right here in this column. And notice that I'm using column C, and there is a reason for it, and I'll show you in a second. And so we're going to do this, and then here we're going to do 13:47:43. Okay. Now, one basic with Excel is if you select a string like this that's consecutive, and you drag from the bottom here, it's going to create the rest of them. So you notice here it says 13:47:44, and then if I keep going, 45. And you notice how I selected these three, and then because there's 3 cells here, 1, 2, 3 again, and then I drag it this way, then it's going to keep the gap which we need, the gap of 2 cells in between. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go down in here. Right, oh, there it is. Okay, so I'll go back up a little bit. There you go. So this is our last timestamp right here, 13:52:48. Now you notice that we're going to be taking a gap, taking a break between between this 13:55:55 and 13:52:48. That's fine. It's not a problem. And by the way, I know that this is good data right here, and it was recorded a second apart because it came from my watch from before. So I'm comfortable with that gap in between the two. Now we're going to go back right here, okay? And then what we want, so we're going to have to recreate this using a formula, and same for this right here. And the last thing that we want is to remember that track point right here. So here's what we're going to do. First off, I want to be able to finish with the correct looking data in this column B right here. So that, because then all I can do is select all of this, do Control C, Command V right here, and paste it as a value, and then all the data will be done. So I'm going to do equal, and then this number right here, okay? And I'll show you in a second why this is important. Now, the next thing is we need to recreate this format exactly like this, right? So I'm going to copy this, paste it right here just so you can see what it's supposed to look like, all right? So here, we're going to create a formula to do that based on this number right here, okay? So equal, and then I'm going to do this, and then time, and then close this, and then 2017, 08/20, and then the T, and then we have to put our date, right? I'm going to expand this. I'm going to close this just for right now, just so I can expand this. Okay, so let's go back to our formula here. And then we can use the and sign, this thing here, and we're going to use the text formula. Text, open the parentheses right here, click on this cell, okay, and then comma, and see it says format text. So we're going to want hours, sorry, we have to do this, hours, minutes, and seconds, and then I'm going to close this and close the parentheses right here. Let's see what it did. See what it did? Now, why did I not just use the just the cell in itself, right? I could have just done this and then click and then enter. Well, it gives me this number is a decimal number that looks like this. So that's not what I want. So we're going to keep this formula. Then we need to add the Z at the end. And again, every string has to be separated by the and sign. And the Z, and then again forward time, and then close this. That's our string of data. So if you look at this formula, it's actually pretty simple. All it is a string of text. This is our string of text, followed by our time and date, which is this thing right here, followed by another string of text. Okay? So enter. Look at that. 2018, 20, 1347, 42 Zulu. That's a formula right here. Then if I do copy, Command C, Control C, Command V, Control V, look at that. Pasted it, and then now it's using this data. Same thing here. Okay? And the last thing is, and then I'll show you how to repeat this. So I'm just going to clear this. All we have to do is do these first three, and then we're all set. And the last thing is we're going to put this string. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to go right here, Command V, and look at that. Now we can do this, and we can drag right here all the way down. I'll just show you for a bunch of them here, for 3 of them, or a few of them, I should say. Now I did it. 42, 43, 44, 45, and it's copying this data from right here and this data from right here, and it's just using text for truck because that doesn't change. Okay, so look at that. So now all I have to do is, again, select all 3 of these and then drag them all the way down. Oops, there you go. Okay, so there we are. 135248 Zulu, 1530, oh, there it is. And now all we have to do is copy this column, because now this column is going to go in here on the left side. Column B is going to go into column A. And we're going to go back up, and I'm going to do Shift and then click this one. Control C or Command C for copy, and then right click, paste special and value, and click OK. There's all the data. It's all cleaned in here. Okay, so with that being done, I'm going to do right here clear content because we don't need this anymore, And our file is pretty much ready to go now. We've recreated the data. Now, you notice that we don't have any elevation data in here. I just don't have that data. So we'll see how Strava likes it. If it doesn't like it, then we can always create something new. But save this file right here as a CSV. Okay, save it as a CSV, and we're going to go back. And what I'm going to do, and it's 137 right now, so it just was saved. All right, so before we upload to Strava, there's one more thing that we need to do. When we saved it as a CSV file, Excel added a few characters that we don't want. So I'm going to make a copy of this, keep the original as it is, and then just rename it GPX, just like that. Okay. Now on Windows, you have the Notepad. On Mac, we have the text edit. So I'm going to use text edit. Right click, open with text edit, to look at the string of data. Okay, so here's the file. Now there's a few things that we need to modify. At the end right here, there is a format that I don't like, that GPX doesn't like really, and it's all of this. There's 2 commas, there's the quotation mark, and then the greater than sign. All we need is the greater than sign. So we're going to do Command F or Control F for find. And we're going to put this string like this and click replace right here. And we're going to replace it with simply the greater than, and then see when the Mac highlights the thing in here. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do replace all. Okay, so that's one of the things that we have to do. The other thing that we have to do, there's a greater than and then 2 commas. So we're going to change that as well to just a greater than. See, there's a bunch of these. Every single one of them, actually. Every single line has that. That's the comma separated value format for us. And so we're going to change that as well to be just a greater than. And then we're going to replace all right here. Okay, and then the last thing is, I think the last thing is, I want to scroll down to where we had our data modified, just to make sure the format's maintained and stayed well. Yes, it did. So any of the before the TRKPT track point right here, we're going to have to remove that quotation mark. So again, I'm going to do Control C, Command C to copy right here, and then paste it up there. And I want to replace that by simply, I'm going to paste the same thing and then just delete the quotation mark, just like that. Replace all. And the reason I copied it is because there's a bunch of spaces in between, and I want to get the exact amount, and it's the same amount for every single thing. So I just wanted to make sure we had it. So replace all. Okay, so that's good. And then finally, you notice on the latitude and longitude, we have 2 quotation marks. We only need 1. So the last thing that we have to modify here is double quotation marks become single quotation marks right here. Replace all. And our file should be pretty good now. So, oops, what happened here? Oh yeah, just at the top, there's 2 different lines here. We're going to delete that. And then this, and then this. And that's it. Let me go all the way to the bottom just to make sure. Yep, there's no more additional quotation marks. So I'm going to click Save. And we're going to go see if we can import this thing into Strava. So upload activity, and then go to File, and then choose the file right here. Final to GPX, and looks like it worked. So run, it's going to create, look at segment and stuff, blah blah blah. I'm going to make it private, and then just click Save, and then we'll take a look at what it looks like. Here's our segment. Now interestingly the elevation data is kind of in there. I think it's just a slow increase in that section that was missing. But yeah, here's all of our data. Now, one thing that's interesting is I did not run 505 pace. I think the file that I used was a file that was on my bike, unfortunately, and so you gotta be careful with that if you're gonna reuse. Please don't use this to break Strava segments or whatever you want to do, but that's it. So just remember, the steps are pretty simple. We're gonna use our old track, split it at both ends. We're gonna use a new track that we either draw using this tool right here or by using a file that we already have. And we're going to make it all one file by joining all the tracks. We're going to export that file as a GPX. We're going to change the extension to CSV so we can import it into Excel. We're going to go into Excel, add a gap, especially if you don't have the time and everything like we said. But all you need, as you can see, is a timestamp, a latitude and longitude, and then ending the string by closing it with / track point. And then use the formulas that I show you to recreate the time, save, and then go into a text editor, remove the extra strings that were created, and then upload into Strava or whatever software you want to use. And that's it. So if you have any questions, I know this is kind of a long video. It's a long tutorial. It takes a little bit of time to do this. But if you have a question, leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to help. And thanks for watching.